What's up, y'all? Today is going to be a long video. Today's going to be my NFL 2025-2026 season predictions. The way this video is going to work, I'm just going to go through each division. I'm going to start from bottom to top, talk about what I think the record's going to be, and just a couple of, facts about the team and what I think opinion-wise. If you guys want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe. Turn the notification bell on as well. I try and release 3 to 4 times a week. And now that the season's going to be starting, wow, literally in less than a week. Now that the season's going to be starting, I'm going to be doing weekly predictions, and I want to try and do some stuff with like an analysis of like games and stuff, but we'll see. I don't want to make this too long of an intro. I know I have a lot to talk about. And yeah, it's gonna be tough. No script here. So, but yeah, let's get started. So, NFL 2025-2026 season predictions. I'm gonna start with the AFC South. Now, at the bottom of the AFC South, I have the Indianapolis Colts. I have the Indianapolis Colts going 2-15, if you can believe it, right? I think the only 2 wins that I have the Colts having this year, I have them beating the Titans in Week 8. I think they'll beat the Titans at least once, and I have them beating the Falcons. Now, the Falcons game is more of like it's a game that's happening in Germany, right? So I think both teams are going to be in bad spots, right? I think both teams are going to have to deal with the travel aspect of it all, and I've seen a lot of times in those international games, the bad team wins just because of whatever it is. Right now, there's a couple other teams on here that I think that they could beat. Obviously, they could maybe. No, I don't think they. I don't think. Oh, wow, I don't even think they could beat the Jags once. The only other games that I can see them winning is maybe the Raiders in Week 5, and maybe you can see the Colts in and the Cardinals in Week 6, and you could maybe throw another Titans game. But I think I can only guarantee 2 wins for them, and that's Week 3 against the Titans. Not Week 3 against the Titans, sorry. Week 8 against the Titans, and Week 10 against the Falcons. But yeah, Colts 2-15. It's really just going to depend on QB situation, right? I know obviously Daniel Jones is the starter. I don't expect him to start all year. I think Anthony Richardson is going to come through at some point, and he's going to play well and maybe keep playing the rest of the year. But I do really think that it's going to be a bad season for the Colts. Next up, I have the Tennessee Titans going 6-11. Now, 6-11 doesn't sound that good, and granted it's not, but I just think that there's all the games that I have them losing, I think are games that they realistically could lose, right? Broncos, the Rams, the Texans, the Cardinals, the Raiders. There's a couple games on here that I think that could be close, and I gave the edge to, another team, right, that I think has a higher ceiling. And for instance, this case scenario would be Week 7, Titans versus the Patriots. Both of them not really great teams, have a lot of holes on both teams, but I trust second-year Drake May more than first-year Cam Ward. And I think that the Patriots are going to win that game. But Titans, it's really going to be on Cam Ward, right? Cam Ward has to go out there and show out and work with what he has. I don't know what the running back situation is right now. I think it's for sure Tony Pollard. I know Tyjae Spears got hurt and he was on IR, but I'm not sure for how long. Got to make it work with Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett as your other receiver as well. You have Chig as your tight end, I think. Defensively, nothing really going great over there. You guys have Jeffrey Simmons, but that's about it. So I think this team is going to be, they're going to be an improvement of what it was last year, but not good enough to really make any real playoff push. Now, in second place for the AFC South for me, I have the Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars are a really weird team for me because I think offensively they can be up there with some of the top offenses, but I think it's about consistency, and we haven't seen the consistency from Trevor Lawrence yet. And my issue with that is I need to see him be more consistent before I can put him winning over some of these other teams that have the same issues as the Jags, which is defense. The Jags defense is not good at all, right? So, for instance, they play the Bengals Week 2. I think they're going to get smoked by the Bengals. Why? Because the Bengals are just going to keep scoring and scoring and scoring. And I don't think the Jags are going to be able to be consistent enough to keep it going and match that offensive pace. Travis Hunter is obviously going to be a player to see. He's going to be playing more wide receiver than corner, I believe. So it's going to be mainly offensive output from him. But I think he'll struggle at corner. I think he's not the biggest guy. Well, not I think he's the biggest guy. I know he's not the biggest guy. So he's gonna get kind of pushed around out there a lot. He can still play very well. Don't get it twisted. But I think there'll be a little bit more of a learning curve defensively rather than offensively. But some of the games here that I think they could have like a chance to flip, I have them losing against the Seahawks in week 6. That's like a 50-50 game for me, but I'm going to go with the guy who has more experience and more success, and that's Sam Darnold. So I have, Seahawks going and winning against the Jaguars for that reason. Again, team that has a pretty decent offense, but not the greatest defense. But I think the Seahawks offense will be more consistent than the Jags. So yeah, Jags are 7-10. I don't really have much more to say about them. So we're going to go on to the next team. The leader of the AFC South, in my personal opinion, is going to be the Houston Texans. I know it's not that crazy, but I don't have the Texans winning it crazy, right? I have the Texans going 9-8. I think that this team is at the same. They're at the same place right now, in my opinion, as they were last year at the end of the year, right? O-line not as great. Receivers hurt, so this is going to be CJ Stroud's probably hardest season, compared obviously from last year, but it's going to be his hardest season because I think the O-line is not even just injured anymore, they're just not there. Speaking about Laramie Tunsil specifically, and Tank Dell is going to be out for the year. I know Nico is having some nagging injuries that might bother him throughout the year. They had Stephon Diggs for a little bit as a receiver too, but now Tank Dell was supposed to be a receiver too, and obviously he's not playing. So I think this is going to be a very rough season for the Texans, and with Joe Mixon being out for at least a couple games in the beginning of the year, I think it's going to be tough. However, I just don't think that the rest of the teams in this division are that good. I have them going 4-2 in the division, and some of the other the outside of the divisional games, I think they'll beat or they'll win. Like the Seahawks, I think they can beat the Broncos, right? I think at some point the Broncos are going to have a bad game, right? And I think a bad game is going to come against the Texans. Who else I have them beating that they... and yeah, like the Cardinals, I think they'll beat, so I think the Texans are going to go 9-8, and they'll be the divisional winners for the AFC South. Now, for the NFC North, we're going to start with the Cleveland Browns. I have the Cleveland Browns going 2-15. Yes, 2-15. I think they're going to be really bad. Part of this has to do with the division. I don't think they'll win a divisional game this year. I know the Steelers are not the best team in the world, but I think the Steelers are more complete than the Browns. So I have them literally losing all of the divisional games. And outside of that, the games I have them winning, I have them beating the Jets week 10, and I have them beating the Raiders week 12. I think those are games that they can steal. But other games, I don't see it. I think they have a decently tough schedule. You can maybe say they could beat the Patriots in week 8, but again, that's a maybe. I just don't see much going for this team. I know they have a good defense, right? But I'm not confident in their offense. I'm not confident in Joe Flacco running that offense. I'm not confident in Dylan Gabriel running that offense. And I'm not confident in Shedeur Sanders running that offense. I just don't think they have any quarterbacks on that roster right now that will be able to elevate this team to where they want to be. Plus, hard schedule, right? They play the NFC North, right? So their schedule, the teams they play, these are, in my opinion, guaranteed losses. Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers, right? They play my Dolphins, but I think my Dolphins will win, but we won't count that as a guarantee, right? Ravens again, 49ers. I think there's no way they beat the Bears, the Bills, and then Steelers and Bengals. Again, that's what, 12 teams I think I just counted off. So I don't, or 12 games I should say. I don't think this team's going to do anything good. My prediction is 2-15. I think their floor is probably 2-15, 1-16, but I think they're at their highest, their ceiling would be if they won a couple extra games. So what, 5-12? Still not a great year at all. But yeah, Browns 2-15, bottom of the NFC North, or AFC North. Sorry. Steelers are in third place for me. And I almost, when I was doing these predictions, I was like, they're gonna go 9-8. They have to go 9-8, and they still might. But right now, I have them going 8-9. And this one was one of the harder teams to really rank, because I don't know a big hole in their game that I can like look at some of these teams and be like, yeah, I feel confident that they will that they'll lose this game or that they'll win this game, right? So like just going really quickly against on their schedule, right? I think they lose to the Jets week 1. I think Jets go out there and surprise people. I think they beat the Steelers. I think they lose to the I think they beat the Patriots. I think they lose to the Vikings. I'm assuming that JJ McCarthy's first good game will come around week 4, week 5-ish. And week 4 they play the Steelers, and I think the Vikings have a bye week 5 because this is a Mexico game. So I have the Vikings, beating the Steelers. Steelers are gonna beat the Browns week 6, Bengals week 7. I think guaranteed they'll lose to the Packers week 8. I just think that the defense for the Packers, obviously with Michael Parsons being there, is gonna shut down the Steelers offense. The Colts, I have them winning. I think they'll beat the Chargers. Close game, good game, but I think they'll beat the Chargers. I think the Bengals are obviously going to take one from the Steelers. I think the Bears will beat the Steelers. I think the Bills will beat the Steelers. And then Ravens, obviously. Steelers, I have them beating my Dolphins. I think the Lions destroy the Steelers. Steelers beating the Browns, and the Ravens beating the Steelers, right? So I think most of these games are honestly just either feel like the offense that they're going to be going against is so much better, and so that's why I'm like, okay, like I think this team will win, right? Specifically talking about Bills, Ravens, Lions, Packers, Bengals, right? But then there's other games I'm like, okay, this team doesn't have any holes against this team, or this team doesn't have as many holes as the team they're facing against, right? Which I want to talk about the Dolphins game, right? I think the Steelers' biggest hole right now is like their safeties, but I think corners, they're okay. I think linebackers, they're good. Obviously, they're good on the D-line. Offensive line is okay. Their running back situation is manageable. The receivers are okay, and I think quarterback situation could be worse, but it's not, again, bad. And the Dolphins, we have such a liability in that the back end of our defense, that I think the Steelers will be able to beat us, right? And remember, this was Aaron Rodgers last year on the Jets, which everyone likes to say wasn't a good Jets team, but they beat us. I think they beat us twice last year. And one of those games, just I don't know, we couldn't do anything, right? So I think the Steelers will be better than most people think. I think they have them. I think people for sure have them going less than 500. I have them going less than 500, but there's a couple games on here that I picked against the Steelers that I think the Steelers can definitely win. Second, in the AFC North, I have the Bengals going 10-7. A lot of this just has to do with their offense, right? I think all of their losses are teams that have good offenses, yes, but their defenses, I can see them making stops against the Bengals, and I think that's all it's really going to take. There's some games, honestly, here that I think if the Bengals get stopped 1 or 2 times, that's it. They're losing the game, because I don't think their defense will be able to stop some of these other teams. For instance, Lions, Packers, Ravens, Bills, Ravens again, right? I think for sure those games are just like they're not going to be able to keep up with the offense they're going against, right? While also facing a defense that's also very good. And I think that's going to be the big deal here with the Bengals. Is going to be that defense and that offensive line. I don't think they'll go out and they'll win the AFC North or anything like that, right? But I think they will not be as bad as they were last year. I think this defense, even though while it was very bad last year, I think that was like an anomaly. I think they'll still be bad, but not that bad. And I think that's going to get them an extra win or two that they could have used last year. And I think they'll make the playoffs here with a 10-7 record. Number 1 in the NFC North, or the AFC North, Baltimore Ravens. I don't think I really have to say too much here. I have them going 14-3. Only 3 losses I have are the Chiefs, the Rams, and I think they lose the Bengals once. I think this team is very complete. One of the more complete teams in the league, if not the most complete. Actually, no, they're not the most complete. The Eagles are, but they're one of the more complete teams in the NFL. And yeah, I think great running game, great passing game, great defense. I think they'll cruise through the season. 14-3 record. I think they'll be good. Now, moving on to the AFC West. Last place, I have the Raiders, 4-13. I think the Raiders team is going to be bad. I am not a big fan of Geno Smith. I don't think their O-line is going to be good enough to produce the protection that they'll need and run blocking that Ashton Jeanty is going to need to be able to have a great year. I think that this team defensively, a lot of liabilities all over their defense. Offensively, not enough skilled players to really for me to feel scared by them, right? I think Geno Smith, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and Ashton Jeanty, great. O-line is bad. Geno Smith is not the best decision maker out there. So I think this team will underperform people's expectations. I think 4-13 is an okay spot for them, or an okay record for them. But I don't think it's going to be a good year for them. Now, Denver Broncos, 9-8. Now, my thing with the Broncos here is that I think that last year they kind of overproduced. I think that the season I expect them to have this year is what I thought is what I thought they were going to get this year, not what I thought they were going to get last year. Last year they went 9-8, 10-7, something like that. I expected that team to be like 7-10, right? And so for them to actually come close to making the playoffs, if not, I think they made the playoffs. I think that was definitely not supposed to be part of the plan. I think Bo Nix was good. I think he was good more from the scheme though, and I don't expect too much to change. Now 9-8 seems like a letdown compared to what they were last year, but I think their schedule is kind of tough, right? The 8 games I have them losing to the Chargers. I have them losing to the Eagles. I have them losing to the Texans once. I think the Raiders can steal a game, so I have them losing to the Raiders. I have them losing to the Chiefs. I have them losing to the Commanders. And I have them losing to the Packers. And I have them losing to the Chiefs again. I think those are all realistic games that they'll lose. And I just don't think this offense is going to be explosive enough to compete with some of the best teams. They might be able to steal a game, like I have them beating the Bengals week 4, but not enough to compete with like an Eagles or a Chiefs team consistently. So I have the Broncos going 3rd in the AFC West with a 9-8 record. Chargers for me, I'm gonna go 12-5. I kind of felt a little weird putting them this high or having them win this many games, but their schedule to me is just, it works out the best for them. I think some of the games here that I have that they won that they could lose, right? I have the Vikings, and that's about it. I think the Vikings is the only game that they'll win where I'm like, okay, or that I predict that they'll win, that I could see them losing, right? And I just have them winning because of JJ McCarthy, but that's a whole other, that's the Vikings. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, I think this team will be good. I think another year of Justin Herbert being in that system, I think it's going to be good for him. This defense is going to get better. Obviously, Joe Alt going to improve. I really like this team. If it wasn't for the Chiefs and who the Chiefs are, I would say the Chargers are a sneaky team that can steal the AFC West. But right now I have them at 2nd place with a 12-5 record and a 5th seed in the playoffs. But yeah, now first team, the guys didn't already guess, Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Chiefs going 14-3. I have a lot of teams here going pretty high records. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think 14-3 for the Chiefs isn't too far-fetched. The teams I have them losing against is Week 2 against the Eagles, Week 6 against the Lions, and Week 9 against the Bills. I think other games outside of that, I think, especially after their bye week, it's pretty easy. It's the Broncos, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chargers, the Titans, the Broncos, and the Chargers. I think after Week 10, they go undefeated. One game here I have that they win that they could definitely lose is the Ravens. But I think the Chiefs, at least if they don't beat the Ravens in the regular season, they're going to beat them in the playoffs. And if they beat them in the regular season, they'll probably lose in the playoffs. And no spoilers, but I don't have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl this year. So, yeah, I have the Chiefs going 14-3. There's not really much to be said. I think people to watch out for is going to be Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Age-wise, I think they'll regress, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they react to that regression. But other players to watch is Xavier Worthy, George Karlaftis, can Trent McDuffie do another year of what he just did? Will Rashee Rice come back playing like he played before he got hurt after his suspension? So I think those are all going to be really important. But I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. I think people worry about them, but I'm not really that worried. Now for the AFC East, my division, I have the New England Patriots finishing last. I know it's not crazy to say. I just think this team isn't good enough yet to really compete with some of these other teams, right? I think that Drake May will be up and down throughout the year. I don't think he's going to be consistently good. And because of that, I think this team will struggle a good amount, right? I think some of the games here that I have them losing, I think people are surprised by. I think they'll lose to the Raiders. I think they'll lose to the Panthers. I think, wow, not crazy to say they'll lose to the Falcons, but yeah, I think, I have them losing to the Dolphins at the last game of the year, right? There's a lot of other losses here as well, but those are against good teams. I think the Patriots are probably another 2 years out from being able to really compete. I think O-line still is going to need some work. I know Will Campbell's good, but that's only one guy. I think defensively, I know schematically the defense has always been good, but I think they're going to need some more playmakers on defense. They have Christian Gonzalez, who's good, but I think they'll need like a really good edge rusher to really elevate this team. And they don't have that yet, obviously. So I have the Patriots going 5-12. Jets are in third place for me. And they're gonna go 7-10. Now, this one I didn't feel great about. I had higher expectations for the Jets, but then I looked at their schedule and I was like, I don't think I could put them over 7-10. I think, like, for instance, I have 7 wins here. These are their wins, in my opinion. I have them beating the Steelers week 1. I have them beating the Panthers in week 7. I have them beating the Patriots in week 11, beating the Falcons in week 13, beating the Dolphins in week 14, beating the Jags in week 15, beating the Saints in week 16, beating the Patriots in week 11. So I think some of these other teams, though, that these losses, I think you can go 50-50 on, right? Like the Steelers. I feel 50-50 on the Steelers. Oh, no, sorry, that's a game to win. But I still feel 50-50 on that. I think the Steelers can definitely win that game, right? Games where the Jets lose that I feel 50-50. I think the Jets could beat the Cowboys, but I think it's going to depend on consistency, and I feel more confident in the Cowboys offense than I do in the Jets offense. So that's why I have them winning that game. I think the Jets can surprise the Broncos and win, but I think the Broncos more than likely will win that game. Kind of the same thing here. I want to say it compared to the last couple of years. Justin Fields has been mediocre, right? Now, people like to say he's trash. I don't think he's trash. But my thing with the Jets is I like Justin Fields. I like his ceiling, but there are times he can have bad games. In week 10 against the Browns, I think he can have a bad game against a defense like that. So I think I have the Browns winning that game, right? But this team is just it's really going to be dependent on this offense. I think this defense will be fine, but this is an offense that can go up and down. And yeah, I have them going 7-10 for that reason. Number 2 in the division, it's my Miami Dolphins. I mean, I already made a prediction video about them. If you guys want to see my intake or my input on them, go check out that video. I'll put that video in the description down below. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this team. I think I made a TikTok about this, but I think there's a couple games here that we lost. Or no, there's a couple games here that I think that we lost and that I think we could win, right? One of those being the Bills, just because we always tend to beat the Bills once. I think we could beat the Falcons if Penix is not playing very well. Jets, kind of the same thing. Steelers, kind of the same thing. And if we get out into a shootout, there's a chance we could beat the Bengals. But I think our defense is just really pretty bad, especially secondary-wise, and I think that's really important. So I have us losing a lot of games due to our defense. But yeah, I don't have much more to say about them. Just go check out the video if you guys want to see more of what I have to say. And top of the AFC East, Buffalo Bills. I don't really have much to say. I have the Buffalo Bills actually going 15-2. The only two losses I have are the Ravens and the Eagles. But they can definitely lose against the Chiefs. They can definitely lose against the Bucks. And you can say they can definitely lose against the Bengals, but I think the Bills will be able to beat the Bengals pretty easily. The only other games here that I can see them losing are the Chiefs and the Bucks. But what do I have to say here? Josh Allen, same team, basically the same team as last year. I think they're gonna have roughly the same results. Yeah, I have the Buffalo Bills. Right now they're first in the conference, but I have the Buffalo Bills winning the division and going 15-2. Now, NFC side of the conference, or of the league, I should say. We're gonna start off with the NFC West. I have the Seattle Seahawks going 6-11. Now, part of this has to do with their schedule. Part of it has to do with how bad I think their defense is, and how inconsistent I think their offense is going to be. I don't think they're going to have a great run game. I think that why can't I think of his name? Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. The Vikings head coach. I think the Vikings head coach played a big role in Sam Darnold's success, and I don't think Sam Darnold's going to have that same success in Seattle. And again, like I said, defense is bad. So like I have them losing to the 49ers and the Steelers and the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals can steal a game from them as well. Obviously the Bucks, Texans, I have them beating the Seahawks. Rams, I have them beating. Titans, I have them stealing a game. Vikings, I have them winning. Falcons, I have them winning. I just think that this defense can't stop some of these offenses, right? And the offense is going to have to compete with some of these high-powered offenses, right? And match them, and I don't think that they will. So that's kind of my concern with the Seahawks. I can maybe see them going 8-9, 9-8 as like an absolute ceiling, but I think more than likely they'll kind of be at the bottom of this division. So yeah. Next up, third in the division, I have the Arizona Cardinals at 8-9. Now, this is a little bit of a weird ranking. I know the Cardinals, everyone has the Cardinals going way lower, right? But this is a team that they were at one point last year fighting for the lead of the conference, and I get it that San Fran was having a bad year. I don't expect them to have a bad year this year, but I think that there's a realistic chance of the Rams having a bad year, and the Cardinals are there second place, could possibly be fighting for first place again, right? And I think that their schedule isn't that hard. Games that have them winning here, have them beating the Saints, have them beating the Panthers, have them beating the Seahawks and the Titans and the Colts. I could see them stealing a game from the 49ers later on the year. I have them beating the Jags and the Falcons, and that's about it, right? Some of these losses you can maybe flip a coin, right? I think I have them losing against the Texans. That's a game that the Cardinals can definitely win. I have them losing another game to the Seahawks. That's a game that the Cardinals can definitely win. I have them losing to the Cowboys. That's a game that the Cardinals can definitely win, right? But I understand the Cardinals can be an inconsistent team, so some of these losses are due to their inconsistency, right? I could see Kyler not having the best game after a bye week going against the Cowboys, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals do win that game, right? So this record is more based off of their inconsistency, but I think if they're a more consistent team, I think this team could be at least in the running to be in the playoffs. But as of right now, I have them 8-9, third in division of the NFC West. Now, second place, I have the Los Angeles Rams. This is under the assumption that Matt Stafford plays every game. I don't think he's going to play every game, right? I think he'll miss at least that first week, right? And I have the Texans winning, right? But I think that this team, their losses are against pretty good teams, and all their wins are against losing teams, right? I think Texans, yeah, I think they'll beat the Rams just because there's a chance Matthew Stafford might not play that first week. But the Eagles beating the Rams, not crazy. I actually have the Rams here in week 6 beating the Ravens, but it's just because there's always a game that the Rams go out there with Matt Stafford, of course, and they just put up points on a good team, and they show that they're a scary playoff team. And I could see that going on against the Ravens in Week 6. I see the Jags beating the Rams in Week 7 just because it's an international game. But my big question here with the Rams, obviously, is Stafford and his health. If he's healthy, this team is a playoff team. If he is not healthy, this team will not sniff the playoffs at all. Puka Nacua is definitely I'm not gonna say he's a question mark, but he's someone to watch out for. Only because the past couple of years he's been, not so much last year, but the year before that he was the number 2 to Cooper Kupp. Last year he played more like the number 1, but he still had Cooper Kupp and the pedigree of who Cooper Kupp is kind of helping him on the field. Now it's Puka and Devontae Adams, and I don't think that defenses are going to pay as much attention to Devontae Adams as he did Cooper Kupp, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see if Puka can carry an offense like that. But I think he'll get it done, and I have the Rams going 11-6, second in the NFC West. Now top 49ers, I think they'll have a bounce back year. I'm hoping everyone's healthy. I don't really have too much to say about them. This team, while yes, they lost a lot of pieces, this team has a really easy schedule, right? These are their 12 wins that I have. Seahawks, Saints, Cardinals, Jags, Texans, Giants, Rams in Week 10, Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts, Seahawks in Week 18. I think that this is a reasonable schedule. There are 5 losses: Rams in Week 5, Bucks in Week 6, Falcons in Week 7, Cardinals in Week 11, and Bears in Week 17. I think those are the only teams that they can definitely lose to. I think this team will be in the playoffs. Even if they don't win the division, I think they'll for sure be in the playoffs. I think this schedule's too easy for a team that can be so good. I think the 49ers are going to for sure be in the playoffs, and I have them right now at the top of the division with a 12-5 record. Now, the NFC South, I have the Saints at the bottom. I don't really think there's too much to say about the Saints here. I think worst team in the league. Defense is aging, right? Offensively, Spencer Rattler is going to be their quarterback, so I don't even really know what to think about that. Kamara's getting worse, or he's going to be worse just because he's getting older. He hasn't had a spectacular season, right, in terms of running the ball. He's kind of like their best offensive player right now, and so I think teams are going to key in on him. I only see this team winning 2 games this year. I see them beating the Giants in Week 5 and beating the Panthers in Week 10, and that's really about it. I would be surprised if this team wins more than 4 games. And out of all the teams that I have here going like bottom of the division, this is the only team that I can say has a realistic chance of going 0-17. But I'm not gonna say it's likely, but I think they have the best chance. Now, starting with number 3 in the division, I have the Panthers. Now, I was feeling kind of hyped for the Panthers, but then I kind of saw the schedule and I thought more about their team, and I said, okay, this is a team that's definitely not ready yet. I have them going 4-13. My thing with the Panthers is that it's based off Bryce Young, and as much as I liked Bryce Young last year, I don't think he'll be that good as consistently as they'll need him to be. There are 4 wins I have here. I have them beating the Patriots in Week 4. I have them beating the Cowboys in Week 6. I have them beating the Saints in Week 15. And I have them beating the Bucks in Week 18, but this is assuming that the Bucks won't be playing their starters. So really, the Panthers are going to get 3 wins. But yeah, big question, Bryce Young. Can he play like the number 1 overall pick that he was? I think if he does, his team can be fighting for a wild card spot. If he doesn't, his team's going to be bad. But yeah, not much to say about that. Falcons, I have as number 2. Now, the Falcons' biggest question is Michael Penix. I think their defense is going to be all right. I think their offense is going to be all right as well. But I think it's going to be consistency from Michael Penix. I think they also don't have a very easy schedule. I think that kind of hurts them. Aside from their divisional games, these are their games. These are the teams that they'll have to play outside of their division, right? And I think these are all tough teams, right? Or games that they could easily lose. You got the Vikings, you have the Commanders, you have the Bills, you have the 49ers, you have the Dolphins, you have the Patriots, but I'm not worried about the Patriots. You have the Colts, again, not worried about the Colts. You have the Jets, that again, I can see the Jets winning. You have the Seahawks, I feel 50-50 on that as well. The Cardinals, I feel 50-50 on that as well, and the Rams, 50-50 on that as well. I think a lot of these out of divisional games are going to be tough games. I think the inexperience of Penix will lead to them losing some of those games. But yeah, that's really the big question. I think he'll play good enough though to fight for a playoff spot. But right now I have them going 10-7, and in my predictions, this is going to be the 8th team, so they'll just be shy of the playoffs. At the top of the NFC South, I have the Bucks. I don't really have much more to say here. Biggest question obviously is going to be Baker Mayfield, but I think he'll be good. I'm not too worried about this team. They're 5 losses. I have the Eagles, I have the Lions, I have the Bills, I have the Falcons in week 15 and the Panthers in week 18. Again, just kind of a good team. No real big holes in their team. I think their defense could use work, but I think it's been good enough to have success, and I think the success is going to be relatively the same as it's been the past year or two. But yeah, that's how I feel about the NFC South. Moving on to the NFC East, the last team I have is the Giants. I really don't like this offense, and I really don't like this defense. I think maybe 2-15 is harsh, but I think this team is really bad. I don't trust Russell Wilson, and if it's not Russell Wilson, I love Jameis Winston, but I don't trust Jameis Winston. And Jackson Dart, I've seen good things from him, but I don't trust Jackson Dart. It's really just about trusting the quarterbacks. They have no really good offensive weapons, right? They have Tracy as the running back, the receivers. Oh, sorry, I'm dumb. Of course, they have Malik Neighbors, but I think Malik Neighbors is going to get double teamed a whole bunch, so they're going to have to focus on other guys' help, and I don't think they have the depth to be able to help give Malik Neighbors some relief. Defensively, I only know like 2 people on that defense. 3 people, I guess. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Abdul Carter. Nasty line. After that, I have no idea who's on that team, and I think they're a liability behind that D-line. So, Giants I have at 2-15. I have them being pretty bad. But next up is the Cowboys at 5-12. I can almost say some of the same things for the Giants, but I just feel more confident in the Cowboys offense than I do the Giants offense, obviously. But that defense is going to be a mess. But the only thing I can say about the Cowboys is that while their defense might get absolutely torched, this Cowboys offense, when they're clicking, especially passing, they can hang with any of these teams. But I don't think they will most of the time. And I think some of these wins that I think are going to be games that are like that, right? Like I have them beating the Jets. I think that's a game that could be like that. But some of these other teams or some of these other games, I just don't feel confident putting the Cowboys winning, like the Eagles or the Bears, the Packers, or the Commanders, or the Chiefs, and the Lions, and the Vikings, etc. So I have them going 5-12, 3rd in the NFC East, but again, not a good season. And hopefully this is Jerry Jones' last season with the Cowboys. Next up is going to be the Washington Commanders. I have them going 10-7 and being 2nd in the NFC East. I think they're going to have relatively the same season as last year. I think last year was a little bit of they outperformed a little bit. I think what their expectations were. This team is almost relatively the same. Deebo Samuel is going to be a big question. I don't think he's going to have the big jump that people want. I think this defense is also going to be a little bit of an issue, especially when you're going against those good teams. Packers, Chiefs, Lions. I think the Dolphins could cause some trouble as well. Vikings. I think that the Commanders, it's going to be basically all up to Jaden Daniels, and I think for the most part he will, but I think there's going to be some games that they should win or they could win, and it's just he won't be able to do it at that time. Like I'd say the Broncos are a good example of that. But I have the Commanders going 10-7. I think this is, I think like their floor and their ceiling is not that far from each other. I think their floor is probably like 7-10, and I think their ceiling is like 11-6. I think that 10-7, 9-8 is gonna be the record. If there's any team I was more confident in on a record, it would be this team. I think that this team was probably one of the easier ones to predict. And going to number 1 in the NFC East is gonna be the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing much to say here. Team's basically the same. Players are gonna play pretty much the same. I have them losing. Who do I have them losing to? I have them losing to the Lions, just because I think the Lions will take a game from them. I have the Chargers beating the Eagles at least once. I think I can see that happening. And I have the Commanders beating the Eagles week 18. Again, assuming that the Eagles are not going to be playing their starters. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this. I think biggest question is going to be, can Jalen Hurts replicate what he did last year? Can Saquon Barkley come close to replicating what he did? And I think if they do, they're going to win another Super Bowl. And I think those are really the big questions. The NFC North, last place in the division, I have the Minnesota Vikings. And a lot of this has to just come down to just JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is going to play well. I think he'll struggle the first couple weeks, though. And I have him starting off the season 0-3. And I don't think he'll gain his footing until later on in the year. But I just don't trust him against some of these other teams, right? Bengals, I don't trust him against the Bengals. I know, yes, bad defense, but I don't think he can execute consistently enough in the way he needs to be able to keep up with the Bengals. But Eagles, I have them beating the Vikings. Chargers, I have them beating the Vikings. I have the Lions losing, or I have the Vikings beating the Lions at least once. Just kind of like a I don't want to say a trap game, but just a game that you don't expect them to win and they go out there and win. But again, biggest question is going to be JJ McCarthy. I think he'll struggle a little bit, play well near the end, and he'll be okay. But 8-9, last place in the division, so this division is going to be tight, kind of. Third place in the division, it's going to be the Bears. I believe in the Bears. I almost wanted to put them higher, but I just couldn't. Big question is going to be obviously Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. How is that duo going to work? And I think it's going to work very well. But I think there's going to be some growing pains, and I think then they'll figure it out. And I think next year will be the year that the Bears can be like, okay, let's go win the NFC North. I don't think this is the year for them to do that, though. Moving on, the second place in the NFC North for me is going to be the Green Bay Packers. Especially after that Micah trade, I think that the Packers are a dark horse team to win the championship, the Super Bowl, obviously. I think when it comes down to the Panthers, though, it's going to be Jordan Love and that receiving core. I have confidence that the receiving core is going to improve and they'll play very well. And again, confidence that Jordan Love will also play well. But it's just, you never know. I have them going 13-4. Those 4 losses being the Eagles, the Lions in week 13, the Bears in week 16, and the Ravens in week 17. I think this team's going to be good. They've shown they can be good with Jordan Love in the past. I have confidence in this team 100%. But I have them second in the NFC North with 13-4 record, meaning that number 1 is going to be the Detroit Lions. And as much as I want to say this team's basically the same as it was last year, it's not. They lost both coordinators, right? And I think that's going to help. That's going to hurt them a good amount, especially earlier in the year. I have the Packers beating the Lions first game of the season for that reason, and the Ravens beating the Lions in week 3, again, for that reason. But I think once the Lions figure it out, I think they'll beat teams like the Chiefs later on. And I have them losing again to the Vikings in week 9. But after that, I think the Lions can win every game. They go from week 10 to week 18. They play the Commanders, the Eagles, the Giants, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, and the Bears. And I think they win all of those games. I think this team will end the season on a streak, and that will be what gets them the number 1 seed in the NFC. Now, going over to the playoffs. What do I think is going to happen in the playoffs? Now, the way the playoffs are right now, right, in the AFC side, the Bills are the 1 seed, the Chiefs are the 2 seed, the Ravens are the 3 seed, The Texans are the 4th seed, the Chargers are the 5th, and the Bengals are the 6th, and the Broncos are the 7th. And on the NFC side, the Lions are the 1st, the Eagles are the 2nd, the Bucks are the 3rd, the 49ers are the 4th, the Packers are the 5th, the Rams are the 6th, and the Commanders are the 7th. Now, starting on the AFC, right, 4 versus 5, Texans versus Chargers. I have the Chargers winning. I could say a lot that I could say there, but I just think more complete teams going to win these games. That's kind of what my criteria was in these predictions here. So Chargers I have beating the Texans. I have the Ravens beating the Bengals, and I have the Chiefs beating the Broncos on the AFC side. And on the NFC side, I have the Packers beating the 49ers. I think the Packers will upset the 49ers there. I have the Bucks beating the Rams, and I have the Eagles beating the Commanders. I think that's pretty easy there. On the divisional side, right, it's going to be Chiefs versus Ravens, right, and Bills versus Chargers on the AFC side. And I have the Ravens beating the Chiefs. I think the Ravens will finally do it. And I have the Bills beating the Chargers. Again, I don't think that's that crazy to say. And on the NFC side, I have the Eagles beating the Bucks pretty easily, and I have the Lions beating the Packers. I don't think the Packers are going to be fully there yet to knock off the Lions in an important game, but that could be one of those lookout, like those matchups to look out for, like an upset alert. And the conference championship, I actually have the Ravens beating the Bills. I think the Ravens will figure it out this year, and they'll go out and they'll make it to the Super Bowl. I really want them to. I just think that at a certain point, Josh Allen can't do it all by himself, and I think that this is the year the Ravens go back to the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, I have the Eagles beating the Lions. I think the Eagles are the most complete team in the league, easily. And the championship, though, I still have the Eagles winning for that exact reason. So yeah, those are the season predictions, but I want to talk about awards as well. NFL MVP, I have being Josh Allen. I think it's going to be him carrying his team, and I think that's going to go big part in why he gets MVP. I think he'll have a great season still, leading the team. I think it's going to be similar to last year, how it was him or Lamar, and I think Josh Allen will win again. OPOY, Offensive Player of the Year, I have it also being Jamar Chase. Kind of the same thing, right? The Bengals, again, have no defense. I think Jamar Chase is going to be a Triple Crown winner again, and I see him winning the OPOY also. Michael Parsons I have as Defensive Player of the Year. I think he'll play very well. I think having other decent defenders out there alongside of him will either do one of two things. It will help his teammates, right, by having people focus more on him, and his teammates will have some more success, or not even or, right? But after that, then people are going to have to still give help to the other pass rusher, being Rashawn Gary, and then I'll leave Michael Parsons on more one-on-one blocking assignments than you would like to, and I think that's how this defense is going to go. So I have Michael Parsons going DPOY. I like him better than Myles Garrett or TJ Watt. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's going to be Cam Ward. He's going to be the only true starting quarterback that's a rookie. I think he'll have a good season. I think Offensive Rookie of the Year is easily going to go to him. The only other person I could go to is Travis Hunter, but quarterbacks, you know how they do the quarterbacks. So Cam Ward is going to be my Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Abdul Carter. I think people wanted to blow up about that preseason game. I think he'll be fine. They'll just have to get used to it. And Comeback Player of the Year for me is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I just think after not having a good year last year, the year before that blowing his Achilles, I think that the Steelers will be competitive, and especially if the Steelers make it to the playoffs again, or that offense just looks better, I think Aaron Rodgers will win the Comeback Player of the Year award. But yeah, that's all my season predictions. I don't know how long this video is. It feels like I've been talking for like an hour. But yeah, it was honestly still fun to make this video though. If you guys really liked it, please like and subscribe. I will be making more videos, and probably later on in the week, you'll get my week 1 predictions where I go through every week 1 matchup. But yeah, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. if you guys want to give any sort of input, reactions, criticism, I'm open to it all. Just let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this video. Peace out.